The first time Amanda told me I embarrassed her, she did it with a smile. We were sitting at the kitchen island, the glow of her ring light still on in the living room behind her, half a dozen tripods like silent guards around our furniture. She had just filmed a "What I Eat in a Day" reel. I was rinsing dishes, sleeves rolled up, when I mentioned I was thinking of joining her gym. For a second, I expected her face to light up. I imagined her posting a story about her boyfriend finally getting serious about fitness, maybe even us training together. Instead, her eyes flickered in something closer to alarm. She laughed, soft but brittle, and reached for her water bottle. "Babe," she said, tapping her manicured nails against the counter. "I love that you want to be healthy. I really do. But maybe not my gym. It's kind of my office. If you show up there, could you just act like we don't really know each other?" She said it casually, like she was suggesting I pick up oat milk on my way home. I stood there holding a dripping plate, unsure if I'd heard her right. She leaned in, her voice dropping into syrupy tones. "You're not exactly camera ready right now. You know how people are online. They judge. And it would hurt my brand." Her brand. That was the sacred word. The insult didn't come with raised voices or cruel laughter. It came like a business memo, dressed in politeness, wrapped in concern. But beneath the sugar was poison. "You are a liability. You don't belong in my world." I nodded, because what else was I supposed to do? Anger would have been wasted. Amanda thrived on appearances, and nothing would have satisfied her more than me groveling or exploding. So I stayed quiet, plate still in my hand, listening to her footsteps retreat as she returned to her phone, already bathed again in the glow of her ring light. The first crack in a foundation isn't loud. It's subtle, almost invisible. But it spreads. And as I dried that plate and set it back in the cabinet, I already knew something in me had shifted. That night, Amanda fell asleep beside me with a silk mask over her eyes, her phone buzzing faintly on the nightstand from comments flooding in. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, hearing only my own pulse. Her words looped in my head like a broken recording. "Act like you don't know me there." It wasn't the first time she had reminded me of the gap between us. She lived in mirrors and filters, measuring her days in likes and shares. I lived in deadlines and endless hours at a glowing screen. Once upon a time, I had been different. I had been a swimmer, an athlete who woke before dawn to punish water until it gave up speed. Back then, my body was an instrument of willpower. Somewhere along the way, that discipline had been traded for long nights in server rooms, the quiet victories of code, and the slow, steady spread of exhaustion. I wasn't blind. I saw the man I'd become when I passed store windows, the slouched posture, the gut that hung where muscle once cut sharp lines. I carried it with me into meetings, into conversations, into bed. It was weight in more ways than one. Amanda never said anything outright before, but I noticed the subtle shifts, the way her hands slipped from mine at her gym's entrance, the way she angled her body away from me in her videos if I wandered into frame. I told myself I was being paranoid. That night, though, her mask was gone, the truth plain. I wasn't her partner. I was her problem. I could have confronted her. I could have shouted, demanded respect. But I knew how that story ended. A fight, crocodile tears, promises of change, and nothing would shift. Amanda was built on image. She could never love someone who threatened it. So I stared at the ceiling until dawn and let the anger cool into something sharper. I had built a company from a dorm room with nothing but a laptop and grit. I had solved harder problems than this. If Amanda thought I was an embarrassment to be hidden, then she had miscalculated badly. By the time the sun rose, the hurt had crystallized into clarity. The relationship wasn't broken, it was already over. I just hadn't admitted it yet. 2 mornings later, I stood outside Amanda's gym, not to go in, but to watch. The building was a glass and steel monument to vanity, its windows glowing with ring lights and treadmills arranged like ornaments in a display case. Women in coordinated outfits streamed through the doors with phones in their hands, already filming. Men adjusted tank tops in the glass before pulling the handle. It didn't smell like sweat or iron here. It smelled like performance. Amanda arrived late, as always, gliding from her car in neon leggings and oversized sunglasses. She didn't see me. She didn't need to. Her entire world was inside those walls. I watched her disappear into the glow, and for the first time, I didn't feel jealousy or longing. I felt outside. Not excluded, but free. I ducked into the cafe across the street and opened my laptop. For years, my work had been about solving puzzles, identifying weaknesses in a system, finding leverage, building something stronger from the inside out. And suddenly, Amanda's casual cruelty looked like just that, a problem begging to be solved. That's when Valerie's name surfaced in my mind. I'd seen her around the city's fitness circles. Amanda hated her, which was saying something, because Amanda never acknowledged competition out loud. But Valerie wasn't a mirror and light influencer. She was raw power, a former athlete with the kind of presence you couldn't fake. Her reputation carried weight, actual weight. I remembered scrolling past clips of her squatting numbers that made seasoned lifters whistle. If Amanda's world was built on appearance, Valerie's was built on credibility. And I had credibility to reclaim. I typed her name into the search bar. An entire universe of content opened in seconds: training videos, small workshops, posts that didn't look staged so much as earned. She had a following, but she wasn't scaling. That was her weakness. That was the leverage. For the first time in years, adrenaline surged through me the way it once had before a race. I drafted an email, direct, professional, not a fan begging for advice but a man offering opportunity. I need a trainer, I wrote. But I also see a way we could build something bigger together. I hit send and stared at the screen. The plate had cracked, yes. But now the floor was shifting. Valerie agreed to meet. Not at a gym, not in front of weights or mirrors, but in a quiet cafe tucked between an old bookstore and a laundromat. When I walked in, she was already there, hair pulled back, a black hoodie loose over her frame. Even sitting still, she carried the aura of someone who'd earned every scar the iron left behind. "You're Amanda's boyfriend," she said as I slid into the seat across from her. There was no judgment in her tone, just a flat assessment. "Not for long," I answered. Her eyes narrowed. "So why are you here?" I laid it out, not the bruised ego, not the nights of staring at the ceiling replaying Amanda's words. I told her the facts: ex-athlete gone soft, a company built from scratch, discipline misapplied for a decade. And then I told her what I wanted: a transformation documented, brutal and honest, turned into something bigger than us both. Valerie listened without interrupting, stirring her coffee. When I finished, she leaned back and studied me. "You don't need a trainer," she said finally. "You need redemption." The word landed like a weight in my chest. I didn't correct her. She wasn't wrong. "But," she continued, "redemption sells. People will watch if it's real. And if you can handle the work, I can handle the training." I slid a folder across the table. 10 pages of projections, marketing strategy, revenue models. The kind of thing Amanda never cared about. Valerie flipped through it, expression unreadable, until she stopped on the last page where I'd written the name, The Phoenix Project. Her mouth twitched, almost a smile. "You've already buried the old you. Now you want to rise up in flames." I met her gaze. "Exactly." For a moment, silence stretched between us, charged. Then she closed the folder and extended her hand. "I'll break you down to nothing," she said. "And then we'll rebuild you. But if you quit, if you fake it, I'll walk. No brand is worth my reputation." I clasped her hand, feeling the steel in her grip. "Deal." That night, Amanda asked why I looked tired. I told her work had been draining. She nodded, satisfied, never suspecting the truth. The war had begun, and she didn't even know the battlefield existed. The gym Valerie chose for me was nothing like Amanda's cathedral of mirrors. It was steel and chalk, a warehouse that smelled of rust and sweat. No music, no posing. Just the groan of iron and the guttural shouts of people who weren't there to be seen. For weeks, I bled into that place. My lungs burned, my hands split, my body screamed with every rep. The cameras caught it all, ugly, unpolished, real. And somewhere in the grind, I found the version of myself I thought I'd buried with my swimming medals. Then came the 10th morning. Valerie booked us into the glass-walled studio at 10 sharp. I didn't ask why. I already knew. I was mid-set, knuckles whitening around the bar, when I felt her presence before I saw her. Amanda swept into the gym in a brand new outfit, 2 friends orbiting her like moons. She stopped dead as her gaze found me, her liability, red-faced, straining under weight I thought I could never lift again. Valerie stood at my shoulder, barking cues. Around us, lights blazed and cameras rolled. Amanda's phone slipped from her hand, clattering against the rubber floor. She walked toward the studio, eyes wide, her friends trailing in confusion. She pressed up to the glass as if trying to convince herself I wasn't real. I racked the weight, chest heaving. For a beat, silence wrapped the room. I looked straight at her. No smirk. No triumph. Just a small, dismissive nod, the kind you'd give a stranger holding a door. Then I turned back to Valerie, asking about my next set as though Amanda weren't even there. Her face crumpled, fury and disbelief warring for control. She mouthed something I couldn't hear. Maybe my name. Maybe an insult. Then she spun on her heel and stormed out, her friends scrambling after her. The clang of the door echoed. The cameras kept rolling. I didn't chase her. I didn't need to. The moment had already burned itself into film, into me. She wanted me invisible. Instead, she had walked into a theater where I was the headline act. And for the first time in years, I wasn't embarrassed. I wasn't hidden. I was undeniable. Amanda lasted another 2 weeks in my house before I asked her to leave. There was no shouting, no revenge speech. Just a quiet conversation at the kitchen table where she once told me I embarrassed her. I explained that we were done, that her words had shown me exactly what I meant to her. She cried, pleaded, promised it was all a mistake. I listened, but my decision had already hardened. She left with a suitcase and her ring lights, the glow of her brand dimming as she walked out the door. The Phoenix Project launched at the end of my 3rd month with Valerie. The footage wasn't polished in the way Amanda might have preferred. It was sweat-streaked, messy, filled with failures as much as triumphs. And that was the point. People didn't just see a body being rebuilt, they saw the process of someone clawing back self-respect. It spread faster than I imagined. Messages poured in, strangers telling me they had started walking, lifting, eating better, because if I could change, maybe they could too. Amanda faded into the background noise of the internet, one more influencer swallowed by the algorithm. Her silence didn't feel like victory. It felt like distance, like a page finally turned. Months later, I caught sight of myself in a store window while heading home from training. Broad shoulders, clear eyes, a stride that belonged to someone alive again. For a moment, I didn't recognize the man staring back. Then I realized I wasn't supposed to. The past version of me, the one who nodded quietly while someone he loved asked him to vanish, was gone. What remained wasn't a perfect athlete or a flawless body, but something better, a man who had chosen to be visible, even when it hurt. I saw Amanda once more, by accident, in a grocery store aisle. She glanced up, froze, and then lowered her eyes, retreating without a word. I didn't feel triumph, not even satisfaction. Just stillness. She had given me the fire, I had chosen what to burn. As I walked back into the night with my bag of meal prep containers, I thought of the name Valerie had smiled at in that cafe, the Phoenix Project. Rising isn't about fire. It's about what's left standing after the flames.